Today's mod is, to me, really unique, giving us new Dwarven armor sets, spells, enemies, and more, all spread out across Skyrim and Soulslime's existing dungeons. This is Dwemer Deepwalkers by Enroys. After nearly 14 years of Skyrim, I know for one that I've gotten tired of fighting the exact same Dwarven enemies again and again. And there's already plenty of mods out there to give us new Dwarven constructs. But I find that I'm particularly picky about them, as there's some that I don't love the design of, or personally feel that they don't always fit into Skyrim style. What I want is something that feels like a bit more of a natural addition. And honestly, I also want something that feels a little more weird and alien, to bring me back to the Morrowind era of Dwarven machinery. Dwemer Deepwalkers' new armor, weapons, and enemies are spread across the vanilla game, with some in Skyrim, some in Soulslime, but a lot of them being found in the Ethereum quest locations. I really like a lot of the gear and enemies in this pack, and while I think that many of the additions fit well into the game, there's a couple that I think stand out in Clash, at least a little bit. Our very first stop today will be in Markarth, where we'll encounter the first of the new constructs, the Dwemer Walkers. Once used as weapon platforms, these constructs served the Dwemer well on the battlefield. Calselmo was able to find a few and restore them to working condition, in order to act as guards for the city. They're completely capable of moving around on their own, but can also be used as a mount. With any and all of the new mounts in this mod, you'll only be able to use your regular weapons when riding them, just as you would when you're on a horse. And just a warning that right now, the mod is a bug where killing or desummoning any of these mounts will crash the game. The author is well aware of this, and they just haven't been able to pinpoint the problem yet. They were able to find a workaround by mounting the summon first, but I didn't have that same luck. Obviously, this bug comes as a bit of a limitation, but as someone who doesn't really use mounts all that much, it doesn't affect me personally. Just a warning for those that might want to use the mount system a bit more. The funny thing is, even though the walkers are meant to be city guards, I was able to ride one without issue. And when attacking them, I incurred no bounty. NPCs went to attack the walker, and the walker had no qualms about killing them. Going into Understone Keep, you can find a spell tome to summon your own walker, which can be found on Calselmo's enchanting station. Going deep underground, we'll make our way to Sindarian's lab in Blackreach, where we'll find a spell tome for a new Dwemer speeder. This is something that feels a bit more like it's out of Star Wars than The Elder Scrolls, but I do like that it has a slight animation for when it's idle. I found that it easily got stuck when riding, but I did like its movement speed. Many of the new Dwemer enemies can be found here in Blackreach, but I'll be talking about them more as we discover some of the new armors added by the mod. And to kick that off, we'll head to Arkanthans, the first stop on the Ethereum Legends quest from the Dawnguard DLC. As we approach the ruin, you might notice a new, largely buried construct. This is the Colossus, a massive dwarven construct that you'll see quite often from now on. Most of the ones that we encounter will be deactivated, buried in the earth, or half underwater, but there's a few functional ones that we'll see in our adventures. These massive titans were fused with dwarven generals, who served as pilots for the war machines. The use of nature spirits in their construction and power would later cause issues, leading to many of the colossi being decommissioned. I really love their design. The mix of dwarven brass, stone, vines, and mushrooms really makes for a great contrast. And true to their name, these things are massive, larger than anything else in the game. And even then, these would still be tiny compared to the dwarves' greatest construct, the Numidium. All of the new automatons that we'll see across the mod were said to be made under Chief Engineer Axon, who sought to meld metal and flesh, thinking it to be the future of the Dwarven people. He found few volunteers willing to take on such a procedure, so instead, much of his army was made up of unwilling conscripts, criminals, and so on. Looting these various constructs reinforces this fusion of man and machine, as you'll always find a human skull in their remains. The first armor set is found within Arkanthans, and in my case, it was located in the water beneath the first Colossus. Here, we'll find a dead adventurer wearing a Dwarven diving suit, a full set of heavy armor intended for underwater use, increasing carrying capacity, stamina, heavy armor skill, shock resistance, disease resistance, and of course the ability to breathe underwater, with the helmet even granting you a brand new Steam Blast attack located under your powers. They'll also have 2 new spell tomes, one to summon a Dwemer Flyer and another to summon a Bathyscaphe. More on these in a bit. The armor looks really good. It looks like a Dwarven-made diving suit, and it reminds me ever so slightly of Bioshock. And you can even see your character through the faceplate. I had already finished the Ethereum Legends quest on this character, and the dungeons were cleared as far as vanilla enemies went. So instead, I really got to focus in on fighting the new enemies. For Arkanthans in particular, this meant fighting the standard Dwarven Bathyscaphe. I found that the enemies were generally well balanced across the mod. They provided a good challenge, but the vast majority of them felt fair to fight. The Bathyscaphes in particular serve as the most common of the new enemies, with a few variations that can be found across the mod. Intended to serve as underwater constructs, they were built with durability in mind. The Bathyscaphe spell tome that we find here is for the old Bathy variant, which has a more tarnished and worn appearance. The Bathyscaphes can be ridden as mounts, but they still suffer from the same issue that we saw with the Walker, where killing them or desummoning them can cause crashes. Mind you, this is only for the ones that we summon, not for the ones that we fight. This particular model looks like it's much older, and was really stuck underwater for ages. The other tome we find here is for the Dwemer Flyer, which feels like a Dwarven take on the iBots from Fallout. They're meant more as friendly drones, and lore-wise, they were intended as recording devices. My next stop was to the ruins of Rakund, where you'll be able to find the second diving armor, this being the glacial diving suit. Before I was able to grab it, I found that I was face to face with an active Colossus. By default, they're neutral, and they don't really view you as an enemy. That is, unless they're provoked. The Colossi have a pretty fair health pool, and I kinda expected them to be a lot tankier. If you stick close to their legs, you can more easily avoid their powerful beam attack, which can much more easily kill you. I did wind up summoning the old Bathy Bathyscaphe just for some extra help. I really love the size of the Colossi, both in their ruined state and in the rare occasion in which we see an active one. With the Juggernaut defeated, I was able to loot the glacial diving suit. The main difference between this and the standard one being that the glacial diving suit gives you frost resistance, and a new frost attack in place of the regular steam blast. This adventurer will also have the spell tome for the standard Bathyscaphe model. After this, we'll depart for Solstheim, where we'll make our way to Nechardak. Just outside the ruin, I spotted a submerged Colossi, and encountered another of the new automatons. This one being the Dwemer Hectosphere, a squat 6-legged contraption that deals decent damage. Once we make our way inside, we'll find the volcanic dive armor, with the helmet granting a new fire attack. This adventurer will also have the spell tome for the volcanic variant of the Bathyscaphes. And while this was the only new gear to be found in Nechardak itself, I decided to make my way through, as it was host to quite a few of the volcanic Bathyscaphes, who can freely walk around and even attack from underwater. I found that adding these new enemies to the existing dungeons really helps to make them feel a bit new. Traveling back to Skyrim, we'll make our way to the Ethereum Forge, deep underground in the ruins of Bethalft. While we can find our final set of dive armor in here, I had to wait a bit before grabbing it, as this dungeon was host to the most new enemies yet, including all of the unique bosses added by the mod. My first encounter was with the Dwemer Minotaurs, meant to serve as guards to Chief Engineer Axon. Just after them was the Cataphract, who were more willing participants and chose to become this weird mix of man and machine. Looting the Cataphract will grant you their unique helmet, which comes with a health regeneration enchantment. And making our way further up the stairs, we'll come face to face with Axon himself. Watch out though, because he has a really powerful beam attack that can easily kill you if you're not careful. Killing him, you'll be able to loot his new weapon. the Door Knocker, which comes with a fire enchantment and a special power attack. He'll also have spell tomes for the 2 types of Colossus, one with a Spriggan head and the other without. And yes, these are usable as mounts too. With the area clear, I was able to grab the last armor set, this being the Deep Diving Suit. This bigger, bulkier armor is meant to be more protective at greater ocean depths, and it takes up both the torso and head slots, so you won't be able to wear a helmet alongside it. This adventurer will have a spell tome allowing us to summon our own hectospheres. And that just leaves us with one final boss, located in the Ethereum Forge itself. Here we'll find Arya, the perfect automaton. It is said that when she learned of Axon's crimes, she locked herself in the forge, hoping to stop him and anyone else who might misuse its power. Arya comes in as easily the hardest fight in the mod, with the ability to summon Wisp Mothers, who in turn summon their own duplicates, powerful ranged attacks, and a really high knockdown chance. Like, way too high of a knockdown chance. I recommend fighting at a distance. Otherwise, you have a really good chance of being stuck in a downed loop, the way that I was. She doesn't actually have all that much health though, so it's not like it's a super long fight either. I'd still like to see some changes to how often she can knock you down though. In its current state, it feels a little overkill. And this comes as a bit more of a personal preference, but I don't necessarily love the look of the wings. To me, it stands out a bit, and doesn't necessarily feel as fitting compared to some of the new enemies that we got. I really enjoyed this, and I think it'll be a great addition for people who are looking for some more Dwarven enemies and gear in their game. The enemies in particular are probably my favorite part. The Bathyscapes, the Colossi, and the Hectospheres in particular feel like really good natural additions to the game. Having them spread across different vanilla dungeons gives you some greater enemy variety in a playthrough, something that I find really makes a difference after all these years. But given that it's me, I have some ideas and suggestions for the mod. I'm just kind of a pain in the ass like that. In the case of the Dwemer Walkers, I'd almost want them to be less commonly used in Markarth. Maybe have it where Calcelmo has only been able to restore 1 to working use, and then have it placed in his museum alongside its spell tome. Given how big the Colossi are, I'd almost wish if they spawned exclusively underground. The reason for this being that, lore-wise, I feel like people would very much talk about these massive Dwarven war platforms walking around on the surface, even if they're just minding their own business. And yes, this would limit how many we could encounter, but for me, I would very much view it as an acceptable trade-off. While I do really like that this adds on to some of the existing dungeons, I do almost wish that we had a new dungeon or two for the bosses in particular. Keep the Bathyscapes, the Hectospheres, and the Colossi in the middle of dungeons, but maybe have the uniquely named bosses somewhere else. All of the lore and backstory for these characters comes from the mod page, but I'd really love if we could have that in-game instead. Imagine this. Say we stumble upon a new dungeon, and it turns out to be the long-lost lab of Axon. We can see some failed constructs, some of the assembly lines, notes, and journals talking about their creation, as well as Axon's crimes. I think this could work a little better than having some of the bosses in the Ethereum Forge itself, as it wouldn't make as much sense to play through that quest with Catria and just have her never say anything about all of these unique beings. Obviously, that would be a lot more work, and it would change the scope of the mod, but it's something that I think could make for a really good addition. As far as the armors go, I really liked them, and I had a lot of fun with their new attacks, but I would love it if they had a feature that maybe let you sink to the bottom of a body of water, and then walk around down there. Maybe if it was set up as a power that you could toggle on and off. I know the author hasn't been able to fix the mount crashing issue yet, but I really hope they're able to, as I think it's a feature that many players will enjoy using. But that's gonna be all for today. As always, thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, check out the Patreon or the YouTube memberships, both of which get access to my official Discord server, as well as early access to most new videos. And if you'd like to watch me play something other than Skyrim, make sure to check out the streams at twitch.tv/0periodproductions. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.